Hey everyone, Albert Stepniak, your friendly real estate agent here in South Florida. I know the housing market can feel a little bit like a coaster lately, with a lot of confusing news headlines. So I wanted to take a moment to break down what's really happening and give you a more clear picture of where things are heading. Think of it like a weather report. The stormy days of the past few years are starting to clear up, and we're finally seeing some sun. Based on what the experts are saying, it looks like the US housing market is finally finding its footing after a really intense period. An economist named Odetta Kushif, who works for First American, put it perfectly by saying that the market has found the floor. This means we're not expecting a huge crash or a sudden boom in the near future. Instead, we're on a slow and steady path toward what she calls balance. The worst of the dramatic ups and downs appears to be behind us. For those of you who've been waiting on the sidelines, this is actually good news. The forecast for 2025 isn't a bust. It's a gradual, more predictable recovery. One of the big things we're all thinking about is affordability. For a while, it seemed like prices and interest rates were just going up and up. Well, according to the numbers, while affordability is still a challenge, it might get a little better in 2025. Even a modest dip in mortgage rates could make a huge difference and unlock some relief for potential buyers. It's a sign that the market is finally adjusting. Now, it's really interesting to look at how different parts of the country are behaving. We can't just talk about the national market because what's happening in one state can be totally different from another. For instance, home prices have been particularly strong in the Northeast and the Midwest. Why? It's a simple case of supply and demand. There just aren't enough homes for sale to meet the demand, which is keeping prices pretty high. But then you look at states like Florida and Texas, and the story changes. While the national median home price hit a new record, prices in places like Florida have either leveled off or aren't growing much more modestly. That's because these areas have seen a big increase in new home construction. All those new houses coming onto the market help to ease the pressure and correct the price increases we saw a while ago. It's a classic example of how more inventory can lead to a healthier, more stable market. It's also worth noting that even though a lot of markets are still seeing price increases, the number of markets where prices are actually falling is growing. It's still a minority, but it shows a shift. Despite this, experts like Lawrence Yun from the National Association of Realtors don't see this as a long-term trend. He says that the housing market is actually underperforming compared to how many jobs have been added to the economy. People want to buy homes, but high mortgage rates have been holding them back. So a lot of people are just waiting for the right moment. This is what's called pent-up demand. If and when interest rates do finally come down, all of those people who have been waiting could jump into the market, especially in places with strong job growth like Florida and the Carolinas. To put it all in perspective, the market is not the same everywhere. While some cities like Toledo, Ohio, and Nassau County, New York, are seeing some of the biggest price gains, places like the West Coast, like Anaheim and San Francisco, have actually seen a slight dip. Just goes to show how local and regional real estate can be. The national forecast is for slow but steady growth, maybe around 1% this year, picking up to 4% in 2026. This isn't a super fast pace, but it's a calm and confident one. It's a good time to be paying attention because things are finally starting to settle down. Now, I've got a bit of good news to share that could give a boost to anyone thinking about buying a home. Mortgage rates just dropped to their lowest level in nearly 10 months. The average rate on a 30-year fixed mortgage fell to 6.58% this week, which is down from 6.63% last week. This is actually the fourth week in a row that we've seen rates come down, which is a welcome trend. Borrowing costs for a 15-year fixed-rate mortgages also dropped to 5.71%. This is a huge deal for anyone who's being on the sidelines because even small changes in the rate can make a big difference in your monthly payment and your overall buying power. So, why is this happening? Big reason is that some recent economic news like weaker than expected job market data has led to speculation that the Federal Reserve might cut its key short-term interest rate next month. This has pushed down the 10-year Treasury yield, which is what lenders use as a guide to price home loans. This drop in rates is already getting people's attention. The number of mortgage applications just jumped by nearly 11% last week. Interestingly, a big part of that increase was from homeowners looking to refinance their loans, with refinance applications surging by 23%. This is a sign that people are eager to lock in a better rate. We also saw a big jump in applications for adjustable rate mortgages, or ARMs, which can start with a lower rate and then change over time. For anyone who's been feeling held back by high borrowing costs, this news is definitely some encouragement. While rates are expected to stay above 6% for the rest of the year, experts are now projecting them to ease to around 6.4% by year's end. This means the worst of the high rate environment could be behind us. It's a great time to talk to a lender about what these lower rates could do for your budget and see if this is the moment for you to get back in the game. If you're ready to make a move, let's explore your options and find the best way to turn this positive trend into your new home. Now, I've got some great news for everyone living in or thinking about moving to Florida. New study just came out from WalletHub ranking all 50 states on their livability, and Florida came in as the sixth best state to live in the entire country. This is a big deal for our state. To figure this out, WalletHub looked at a whole bunch of different things, like how affordable housing is, the job market, the quality of our public schools, and how safe our communities are. It's really encouraging to see us not only in the top 10, but also as the highest ranked state in the entire Southeast. To give you some perspective, the next highest ranking state in our region was Virginia, which came in at 14th. The study highlighted some specific areas where Florida really shines. We were ranked 4th overall for our quality of life, which is a big deal. That category looks at things like how many miles of walking and biking trails we have, how much traffic there is, and the number of theaters, museums, and restaurants per person. And speaking of restaurants, we tied with New York and California for having the most restaurants per capita in the country, which makes a lot of sense for our area here, for example, here in Delray Beach, with our amazing dining scene on Atlantic Avenue. The study also pointed out Florida's strong economy, ranking us third for median household income growth over the past few years and 11th in the overall economy category. Of course, we were number 1 on the list. The honor went to Massachusetts, followed by Idaho, New Jersey, Wisconsin, and Minnesota. But making it to 6th place nationally and being the top state in the entire Southeast is a huge win for us. It really speaks to the fact that our state's economy is strong, our quality of life is fantastic, and people from all over the country are noticing. This is a great thing for our local housing market because it reinforces the value of owning a home here. It's another reason why so many people are choosing to move to Florida and make it their permanent home. If you have any questions about what makes our community such a great place to live or what the market looks like right now, please don't hesitate to reach out. Now, I want to share some interesting new information from a recent study by the US Census Bureau. It talks about how the idea of becoming an adult has really changed over the past 50 years. For generations before us, it was a pretty clear path. You moved out, got a job, got married, and had kids. But that's not the story anymore. Today, living independently and having a full-time job have become the most important milestones for young people. It used to be that almost half of all young adults had achieved all four of those traditional milestones by the time they were in their early 30s. Today, that number is down to less than a quarter. The study suggests that this shift is largely due to economic pressures. Things like rising housing costs, student loan debt, and the cost of everything from food to gas are a big burden. Because of this, young people are prioritizing their financial security before they even think about starting a family. They're basically saying, I need to get my finances in order and be able before I can even consider getting married or having kids. For many young people, they are delaying getting married and having kids. In the 1970s, the second most common path was to be married with a child and living independently, which often meant one parent stayed at home. That's not a common experience anymore. With more women in the workforce, the focus has shifted, and now the top 5 most common paths to adulthood all involve working. The study also found that a growing number of people are living with a partner and a child without being married, showing that family structures are also changing. Essentially, what used to be the 4th most common pathway, just moving out and getting a job without getting married or having kids, is now the most common one. It's a huge shift from 50 years ago, because people are taking a different route to adulthood. One where financial independence is the first step and starting a family comes later, or not at all. It just shows how much the economy is influencing life choices for people today. Now you know why the housing market today is being completely reshaped by 2 new generations, Millennials and Gen Z. They aren't just looking for homes. They're changing what home even means. This is a big deal for everyone involved in real estate, from agents like me to companies helping employees move. So let's start with millennials, those born from early 80s, 1980s to the mid 1990s. They are the largest group of homebuyers right now. They've had a tougher path to buying a home than previous generations because of things like student loans and salaries not keeping up with living costs. But now they're ready to buy and they're doing it in a very specific way. They're not always interested in the typical starter apartment in a big city. Many of them are moving to the suburbs or even further out. This is because city homes are just too expensive and they need more space for their families and to work from home. Their home is more than just a place to live. It's also their office, school, and sanctuary. That's why they look for features like a separate office, a nice yard, or flexible layouts. Another thing that's really important to them is sustainability. They grew up with a lot of environmental awareness, so they want things like solar panels, EV chargers, and smart home technology. They see these not just as a bonus, but as a way to save money long term and be more eco-friendly. As a real estate agent, I've got to be up to speed on these things to help my clients. For now, Gen Z, the younger generation, is just starting to buy homes. They are super ambitious and are trying to get into the market earlier than you might think. For them, buying a home isn't just a milestone, it's a way to feel financially secure in a world where rent keeps going up. This is a generation that grew up with a smartphone in their hand, and they expect the entire home buying process to be fast and easy, just like everything else in their lives. This means they want to see great virtual tours, professional photos, and clear floor plans online. They also expect things like e-signatures and online closing processes. In other words, they want the whole experience to be seamless and digital. You'll also find that they're getting their ideas about home buying from places like TikTok and Instagram. They look to influencers for advice on things like financing and design. If a real estate professional isn't on those platforms, they might miss out on connecting with these buyers. When they finally find a home, they're looking for modern, flexible spaces with the latest technology and energy efficient features. They don't want to mess with a lot of maintenance. Together, these two generations are really changing the whole real estate landscape. They're pushing for more flexible housing options and for suburban areas to have more of the conveniences you usually find in a city. They're also open to new ways of owning homes, like buying with friends or using new technology like AI-powered searches. For anyone who helps people move, like corporate relocation specialists, this message is clear. The old way of doing things is gone. You can't just offer a standard relocation package anymore. You got to be flexible and understand what each person needs, whether it's help with the down payment, finding good schools for their kids, or a job for their partner. Flexibility is a must-have to attract and keep top talent today. The bottom line is that millennials and Gen Z are not just following the rules of the housing market. They are rewriting them. As a real estate agent, my job is to listen, adapt, and be an expert in this ever-changing world. It's an exciting time to be in the business. Now let's talk about a growing trend that's making homeownership more accessible for so many people. Multi-generational homes with in-law suites. With home prices still high and mortgage rates staying elevated, a lot of aspiring homeowners are looking for creative ways to make a purchase work for them. Perfect solution for many is a home that can accommodate multiple generations of a family under one hood. It's a trend that's been on the rise for a while right now. And it's especially popular because of how it helps with affordability. So, what exactly is an in-law suite? It's a private living space, usually attached to the main house, but with its own separate entrance. Think of it as a mini apartment within a home. The main goal of a good in-law suite is to give everyone living there a sense of independence and privacy. A great in-law suite will have its own private bathroom, a small kitchen or a kitchenette, and maybe even a spot for a washer and dryer. All of these features are important because if everyone in a house is forced to share the same facilities, things can start to feel cramped pretty quickly. Separate entrance is also a huge plus. It allows residents to come and go as they please. And it can make a big home feel less crowded and more like everyone has their own space. This privacy and sense of independence is a major reason why this type of living arrangement works so well. Now, if you're thinking about adding an in-law suite to your current home, there is one thing to keep in mind. Your property taxes will likely increase. The amount of that increase depends on a lot of things, like the size of the addition and your location. For example, adding an in-law suite can cost anywhere from $25,000 to over $200,000, depending on whether you're converting an existing space or building a whole new one. But even with that potential tax increase, it might still be a better financial move to build an addition than it would be to buy a brand new, more expensive home that fits everyone. Another thing to think about is parking. While it might seem like a small detail, having a separate off-street parking spot for the in-law suite is a huge convenience. It allows residents to come and go without the hassle of moving other vehicles around or worrying about street cleaning days. Ultimately, in-law suites are a great solution for the modern real estate market. They can be a fantastic way for families to pool their resources and help aspiring buyers who might have been priced out of the market find a path to homeownership. With the increasing demand for living arrangements that offer cost savings and a sense of community, homes with in-law suites are definitely becoming a more sought-after feature. If you're ready to explore how this option could work for you, let's talk. And that's a wrap for this week's episode. I hope you feel more confident about the Florida real estate landscape, whether you're a first-time buyer or a seasoned investor. My goal with this channel is to be your go-to resource for all things Florida real estate. So please don't hesitate to reach out with your questions or ideas for future videos. Your engagement helps this community grow, and I'm so grateful for every one of you who tunes in. If you haven't already, please sure to hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss out on your next update. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.